Good morning. I'm Father Charles Everson, the Director of Communications for the Society of Catholic Priests, and we continue in our interview series of current members here at the 10th Annual Conference with the Reverend Melanie Rowells. Wave hi.
Hi.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, Melanie.
I am the lower school chaplain at Holy Innocents Episcopal School in Atlanta, Georgia. I was recently ordained this June and graduated from seminary in May.
How long have you been part of the society?
I started coming to the meetings, the annual meetings, 2 years ago when we had the meeting in Atlanta. And I had not planned to attend the meeting. I was sort of dragged to the meeting with some other seminarians, and then a very nice priest paid for my hotel room because I was a poor seminarian and didn't have the money for a hotel. And I found, to my surprise, that I thoroughly enjoyed myself, and I made it a priority to come back to Chicago the next year to the next conference, and then of course I'm here in New York City this year.
You went to Sewanee, correct?
Yes.
So how was it being kind of starting to be associated with the society while you were in seminary, and how did that play out in your seminary life at Sewanee?
Well, it was 3 of us came, and I felt like that seminary was a fantastic experience. But coming here, or to the conference, it wasn't here, it was in Atlanta, but coming to the conference and being in the same room with a whole bunch of like-minded people where I didn't have to explain myself about, how much I love certain things about the Catholic tradition, or why I enjoyed praying the rosary, or things like that. It just, it was very meaningful, and I think for me and my 2 fellow seminarians who came, it allowed me to feel like there was sort of an extra special place for me.
Right. So what's been your highlight of the conference so far?
I would say the worship, being in the same room with people who all love to chant. I mean, that we get to chant morning and evening prayer at Compline, and that's not something that you do everywhere. And in some places they never do it. If you do have it, it's spoken. And I have a music background, and I love to sing, and so the more stuff that you're singing and chanting, the better I like it. So I think that's been one of the highlights for me, is the music and the chanting and the worship that involves all of those things.
I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Yesterday, your former dean and professor, Bishop Alexander, gave a talk to us on the relationship between baptism and holy orders. Tell me what you thought of his talk, and just maybe a few tidbits that you learned.
Well, because I went to seminary at Sewanee and he was my dean, nothing that he said was a super big surprise. I knew that he was a person who thinks that baptism is very important and that it should precede the Eucharist, the reception of the Eucharist. So, I enjoyed it. I loved the other talk by Maxwell Johnson, and learned a lot. But I've heard him speak many times. So it was fantastic to hear him again.
Lovely. In your own words, what does it mean to be a Catholic priest in the Episcopal Church?
So for me, at least when I try to explain what, some people don't like to use the term Anglo-Catholic, but when I try to explain, like, what is the Society of Catholic Priests, or what do you guys do? I say that it's not about the outside stuff. I mean, it's fun to wear beautiful vestments, but it's like I tell my children at Holy Innocents, like, God doesn't need all of that stuff. We hold to a really important and high view of the sacraments, even the sacraments that a lot of people don't tend to pay a lot of attention to, like the sacrament of reconciliation or penance or confession, if you want to call it by its various names. So we sort of put those on a very, very high footing, even the ones that maybe folks don't talk about quite as much. And it's more about what's happening inside of your heart, It's more about what's happening when you think about the communion of saints and realizing that there are, it's not just your grandmother who prays for you, but it's also the ever blessed Virgin Mary and all those, fantastic saints who have gone before, and that they're all praying and interceding for us at every moment. And that's a reality. It's not something that we just read on a page, that we believe in the communion of saints, and society really emphasizes those things. And it's more about a core of theology than it is, the stuff. Although the stuff is a lot of fun and we like it, we like our smoke and our bells and all that stuff. We don't need it.
If a seminarian or a fellow clergy person were to ask you, why should I join the Society of Catholic Priests, what would you say to them?
I think that the Society of Catholic Priests, when we meet, is probably the most fulfilling and reassuring and fun couple of days in my entire year. The folks are great, they're friendly, they understand what's going on in the life of a priest, and you can sort of talk to them about stuff that's going on and they completely understand. And that's what keeps me coming back, is the fellowship and the camaraderie and the like minds, and the folks that really do put a high emphasis on good theology, on good teaching from the Bible, and sacramental theology is what keeps me coming back.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mother.
You're welcome.